Hello and welcome to this video of my tour at PAX Unplugged in Philadelphia, Pennsylvania, 2024. It took place on December 6th through December 8th in one of the largest gaming conventions on the East Coast. PAX Unplugged was celebrating its 20th year anniversary. This is a view of the entrance to PAX Unplugged. PAX itself was started in 2004 at PAX West, and the PAX is a series of different events that take place in PAX West, PAX East, and PAX Unplugged, and during COVID, PAX Online. PAX Unplugged is a sprawling convention with thousands of attendees over 6 halls, and this year it expanded to a number of places. The Terrace Ballroom had the theater, and the second floor at the end had the first look area and Unpub. This is a view of the map of the Expo Hall, the miniatures, the first look and free play, different areas. We'll see in the upcoming slides, the Expo Hall had hundreds of vendors and a huge area selling a wide range of games and accessories. This is an overview of the convention map. So all the different areas, learn to play and Unpub and the workshop and the live theater and the different areas where that was displayed. This is a map showing level 3 for the main theater, the Bumblebee Theater, Albatross, Condor, and Dragonfly theaters where lots of panels were held. This is a view of the Expo Hall. So I had a exhibitor badge. So this is kind of what things looked like before they were flooded by thousands of people. So huge sprawling area. This is the actual on the floor view. Look at the exhibitor area showing certain booths. This is the Asmodee booth, the Oink Games booth, the All Play booth, the Geek Therapeutics booth, Tabletop Tycoon booth, Kickstarter booth, the Free League booth, Snowbright Studios booth. I was working for the Steve Jackson's booth. This is what the booth looked like, demoing all the latest Steve Jackson games. This is a view of the theater. So this is the main theater. I saw the Acquisitions Inc. show, so you can see it's a huge theater, able to hold hundreds of attendees. And I was saw the Acquisitions Inc. D&D RPG show on Friday night. I spent a lot of time at First Look, and Unpub was also looked very interesting. I just didn't have time to go through it. So all of the games at First Look were also at online and the Board Game Geek website. It listed all of the games that appeared in First Look, and I had surveyed all of those and talked to a lot of friends and tried a few of the games. So First Look was direct from showcases in Germany, Japan, where it gives attendees a first hands-on look at games that have really yet to hit the North American shelves. They were games that were set up for attendees to play all day throughout the entire convention. It opened up actually an hour before the actual convention, so that staggered opening time really helped, I think, help with managing the people getting into the convention. And there were PAX helpers, or they were called enforcers, there to also help people learn the games as well. So I'm just going to highlight a few of the games. I had talked to a lot of friends. I tried a few games. I surveyed the Board Game Geek website and looked through a lot of games and in the time that I had. And I may be looking for slightly different games than you are, but these are the ones that I thought were were quite interesting, and also you'll see in the later slides some of the things that were very highly rated. So Babylon, I thought was very interesting. Several of my friends said this is a really interesting game. You build a three-dimensional version of the Hanging Gardens of Babylon, and on your turn you take a terrace tile of your choice from the query and receive pillars. And use these pillars to place your tiles on your personal board. You have every player has a personal tableau board, and you essentially build your own Hanging Gardens of Babylon. Really, really amazing table presence, as you can see, as you're building a three-dimensional model of the Hanging Gardens. Bungu Squad, I didn't try this game, but I talked to my friend Andrew who played it, and and it sounded very interesting. So it's essentially like Connect 5. You have to get you have to get a Connect 5 basically. So imagine sort of like Connect 4, but with Connect 5. However, there's a deck of cards, and those deck of cards allow you to utilize certain tools like eraser, tape, scissors, and glue, where you can literally cut off pieces of the board and tape them and glue them and into new positions to change the X's and zeros to be able to try to achieve a 5 in a row. Monkey Palace, I thought had really interesting table presence. That's a Lego game where you stack brick by brick to build a palace while boosting your income above the others, and you must strategically work together to construct the Monkey Palace while competing for the highest brick income and points, all the while under the watchful gaze of the monkey. So I thought this is a very interesting building game. Another game a game that I tried was De-Icefall. So this was debuted in Japan, and what you're doing is you're putting in a dowel on your turn. You're putting in a dowel rod and taking out a dowel rod. The dice are set in this mesh net, and as they fall, players get dice. And you want to try to get as few dice as you can. So in other words, you want your dice, you want your colored dice to stay in the pool as long as possible, and for other players to get dice. But a really interesting dexterity game. Another, I thought, pretty unique dexterity game was called Ubibo. As you can see here from the picture I took, where basically players are holding skewer sticks, and the cards tell you how the skewer sticks have to connect to what fingers, and so it's an interesting, very visual dexterity game. The only game that I bought at PAX Unplugged was Quiet House. So in Quiet House, silent ghosts move statues together and meet goals in an abandoned mansion. It's a cooperative game where players move statues to create arrangements to meet goals. Goal tiles indicate how the statues should be placed to achieve victory. And every player only has a partial information about the goals and can't communicate with each other except through these voting paddles. It only has a BGG rating of 7.1, but a really interesting, I think, novel design and really, really interesting deduction game. Around the world in 80 days, players have to work wisely to choose the best route. They're trying to get from London all the way back around the world to London. They plan their route taking ship, balloon, and train. And the cards are transportation tickets that vary in price, distance, and duration. On one side of a card is sail, on the other side is rail, and there are 3 balloons in the game that you can each use once during the game that can travel over land and sea. Tickets are bought and used to advance on the global map. But what was really interesting, the new game mechanic that was really novel, was that the travel cards themselves are also a ruler. So you see on the card of the picture that I took, it's a sailing ship. It takes 4 days to use that ship, and on the reverse side of that card is a train, so you could take land as well. But those little wave markers with the little range thing, that you're literally using that to draw a distance on the map, and that's how far you can go. So I thought that was really interesting. So I did not get a chance to play the Fellowship of the Ring, the trick-taking game. It was a cooperative card game that takes place over 18 chapters, leading players through the events of the Fellowship of the Ring novel. And each player takes a different character role: Frodo, Gandalf, Sam, Pippin, and former Maggot, etc. And each player has a condition that must be met to pass the chapter and advance in the story. So it kind of reminds me a little bit of The Crew, which is also a cooperative trick-taking game, story-driven sort of trick-taking game. Um, this game was apparently really, really popular, sold out really quickly, and has an 8.2 BGG rating, so one of the highest that was in the first look area. Flatiron is a you're collectively building the in New York City. You're building one of the most iconic buildings in New York, the Flatiron Building. You take charge of a company by purchasing cards that allow you to customize the actions you take to activate the streets on your board. And those actions allow you to earn income, erect pillars, and build floors of the skyscraper. So really great table presence that you could, when I passed by, players were building this three-dimensional building, which I thought was really neat. General Headquarters GHQ was sort of like a chess game. It was called the Lost Board Game because it was designed by Kurt Vonnegut in 1956, and the famous author, designed a board game, but never published it. So apparently this is a resurrection of it. So it looked pretty interesting. Shackleton Base, I didn't play this game, but basically the permanent base is being built on the Shackleton crater in the south pole of the moon. And the game is about the journey to the moon, a worker placement game that's played over 3 rounds, where players lead one of the space agencies working together to expand the presence on the Shackleton base, while 3 major corporations are sponsoring the mission, each one pursuing a different agenda. You can build structures on the base, fund projects from these corporations, and interact with them and score more victory points than your opponents. It again has a very high BGG rating of 8.1 at first look, so I thought this is interesting, and I passed by and peeked in. Rasafa was just one of the games that I happened to see. Basically, it was a city in the desert, and it's about trade and survival in the desert. I did not play Galactic Cruise, but I noticed that it had a very high BGG rating of 8.2. And you're building and launching ships to send guests on a luxurious space vacation, and on your turn, you place a worker to take 2 actions in this ever-expanding network. You can launch a ship and send one of your workers to space as a pilot, or recall all your Earthbound workers to collect funding bonuses. And actions include acquiring blueprints, constructing ships, attracting guests, and building developments. SETI, the Search for Extraterrestrial Intelligence, was one of the 2 games that had an 8.3 rating, a BGG rating. So this came recommended by one of my friends, and it looked quite interesting. So I thought I would highlight it here. Algae Inc. Is a game, again, one of the 2 games that had an 8.3 BGG rating in the first look area, where players manage an algae factory. You can process one of 4 different kinds of algae into various different kinds of products. Each player, it's an asymmetrical game. Each player has their own tableau, and their own tableau has different rules to it because you're representing different departments in the algae company factory. You're all part of one company, but one player is the cosmetics department, one player is the bioplastics department, and the other is the biodiesel department, for example. So you manage one of these sectors in the company. You're trying to create an efficient assembly line, manage your team of operators, engineers, and scientists, and to help expand the company to several locations all over Europe. So this is a heavyweight game. So it took one of my friends 3 hours to play this game. Granted, it was their first time, but still a very long, heavyweight game, but very involved and pretty interesting, with a lot of interesting choices. Civolution was another 8.3 BGG rated game. It's a heavyweight Euro game utilizing a dice selection mechanism to trigger actions on a tech tree-like structure as you figure out how to best use your dice and put your unique cards into play, strategies, and paths to emerge victoriously. So one of the 3 games that had an 8.3 rating. Right next to the first look area was the Unpub area, where you get to test brand new board games and be among the first to experience what tomorrow's hits might be. And The unpublished games networks were hosted dozens of tables of prototype play testing, each with games rotating in. No ticket was needed. Unpub is free to all the players. People could walk around, find something interesting, sit through a teacher, say hi. There's no pressure to play or keep playing. And designers have reserved tables. And I had a number of friends here in Unpub, although I didn't have enough time because I was an exhibitor. I only had so much time. I took a quick peek through it. There were a lot of really interesting looking games. So if you're there next year, I suggest you take a peek in the Unpub area. So it was about the same size as the first look area. So able to hold hundreds of players over many dozens of tables. Other things that I saw at PAX Unplugged, there were a lot of interesting display cases in the halls, showcasing all sorts of new and interesting stuff. So this is just a picture of a couple of them. So the Ekans Toss is a classic Pokemon Stadium minigame that is in real life size. So you grab this like sort of ring toss. It's a ring toss game basically. So you're holding this woven ring toss thing, and you hurl it at a Doug trio in this life-size ring toss game with entirely crocheted game pieces. So a lot of people look like they were having fun with this. This was the 20th year celebration of PAX. So they had lots of 20th year anniversary stuff, but this is the PAX branded items. They had like sweatshirts and sweatpants and t-shirts and pins and cards and card sleeves and all sorts of stuff. So this line was pretty full almost every single minute of that it was open for. And I managed to sneak in and get some things, but lots of cool branded stuff. They have this every year, of course, and the pins are also super popular at PAX. They have unique, different branded pins every year. Pin trading is a thing as well. So, so I hope you've enjoyed this video of my trip to PAX Unplugged. On YouTube Live, I'm sure there's many videos out there highlighting other things from that came out of PAX Unplugged. This is just my perspective of PAX Unplugged, and there were so many things to see. It's impossible for one person to see all of it, but lots of amazing things. And if you like games they had games of for every kind of person and player, and whatever you're in the mood for, or games that you want to demo, try new games from the vendors. All the vendor booths were demoing their own games, and the first look at Unpub were amazing places just to try out new games. There was a vast games library that have hundreds of games that I didn't get a picture of, but I've been to in years past. So, so I hope you found this video interesting and enjoyable. And be sure to check out some of my other tour videos on my channel. So have a great day. Thanks.